Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
Power team. I don't know if you remember the power team, but these were the guys that would rip phone books in half, blow up hot water bottles, break handcuffs, feats of strength, but they would also share the gospel with high school kids usually. So our team would come out 10 minutes before the power team, and then the power team would come. And so after that, we went out to dinner to celebrate my boss's birthday. It was her birthday. And Sabrena, who ultimately became my wife, didn't have a ride. And Ross and Lauren were riding together in her little two-seater car, and Sabrena didn't have a ride. So I offered to give her a ride. And the Lord had showed her some things as well, like her husband was going to have this white car. So I roll up in my little white Toyota Celica sports car, and she gets in. And she starts to this is weird. And long story short, we go out to dinner. I take her back to the place she was staying, an apartment for the week, because campus kind of shuts down during spring break. So she had an apartment she was using off campus. We stayed up till 2 a.m. and we're just sharing about the things that we feel God wants to do in our lives and through our lives. And at first I thought, because Lauren had tried to connect me with some of her other friends, I thought, man, let Lauren, she's told Sabrena about me, because Lauren and I were good friends too. And then eventually we started sharing things that I hadn't told anybody, only God. And you could just see that, we had a lot of common things that. And then the Lord had told me in my prayer time, she's from the Northwest. My wife is from Seattle. She has a unique name that starts with an S. Her name is Sabrena. She's gifted in prayer and sees things. God shows her things prophetically or whatever. And all these things I already knew about her. Plus, I knew her brother because her brother was Ross's roommate. And so I knew she came from a good family. So just all these things were like, even the first night, confirmation. So we ultimately start dating and meet the parents. All the parents agree over the summer. And there's another fun story. I didn't have money for a wedding ring because, like I said, I was working 4 or 5 jobs. Didn't have time in the summer to work because I was doing missions work. And so my dad used to wear this pinky ring on his right hand, and it had a 1-carat diamond in it. And the diamond had just fallen out, and he hadn't got it put back into the ring. And the first night I met Sabrena, she said, anybody that gets serious about me better not come with anything less than a 1-carat diamond. I'm like, man, I don't know if I can pull that off. I don't have a lot of money, I'm a missions guy, right?
Right.
So my dad says, hey, are you serious about this gal? I said, yeah, I think this is the one. He goes, are you gonna propose? I'm like, yeah. He goes, what are you gonna do about a ring? I said, man, I don't know. I'm praying about that. I don't have anything. He goes, well, I have this pinky ring diamond that fell out of my ring, and how about you go get it put in a setting, and then you can just pay me whenever you can. It's worth $5,000. You just pay me whenever you can. I'm like, that's a deal. So that's what happened. So we visit my dad and his wife, and they're all on board, and people are coming up to us at church prophesying and telling us, we see the Lord bringing you two together. And then we go up to meet her family, and they're in agreement. And we don't have money. I don't have money for a marriage license. I know that sounds funny. It's only like $20, but I didn't have the money. And her dad says, hey, the lawn needs to be mowed. If you want to mow it, I'll give you $20. So I'm like, sure. So I mow the lawn, comes home, gives me $20. The marriage license was 18. So again, I had 20 plus tithe, pay the marriage license.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go up to meet my mom, because my mom lived in Canada. She's from Canada, moved down to California, met my dad, got married, they got divorced, moved back to Canada. So, you know, big family reunion to meet her, and have a lot of cousins, aunts and uncles up in Canada. And she walks into my mom's house and she says, I've been here before. I'm like, no, you haven't. This is your first time here.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, I've had a dream about this house. So she goes downstairs and she sees the bedroom that I lived with my mom for a year after my parents divorced, 7th grade. I didn't enjoy Canada, too cold. So I moved back to live with my dad and his new wife. So the Lord's starting to connect the dots for her now, where, you know, white car, and there's some other things in San Diego that she saw in her dream or in her mind, and then when we were there, she saw, and then now Canada. So we end up getting married October of '88, and I moved to Virginia. She had a house full of stuff, china, kitchen stuff, furniture. I drove a U-Haul from Tri-Cities, Washington, through Oklahoma to get my stuff, which was basically books and clothes and my car, to Virginia Beach, where Regent was, and unloaded the whole thing by myself except for the mattress. I just found this guy, said, hey, can you help me haul this mattress inside? Anyway, we had 4 years in Virginia, which were amazing, and just kind of set us on a good path for laying a foundation for our marriage.
Yeah, that's cool. So what makes you come out here? Or what makes you go? So you ended up in, so where did you go after Virginia?
Yeah. So I studied 3 different disciplines at Regent. I studied ministry management, missions. They called it biblical studies because they didn't have a missiology degree at that point, but basically it was missions.
Yeah.
And church planning, church growth, and then communication, intercultural, cross-cultural communication.
Right.
So I started writing to different missions organizations because I wanted to work for an organization that wanted to start churches among unreached people groups through local leaders. And this one company, this one organization in San Jose calls me up, and I liked the guy immediately. He goes, what you said you want to do, that's exactly what we do. Name of the organization was Partners International. They've changed the name now to We Are Partners. So I go out and agree to fly out to meet them. Another funny story, Mike, but they send me a plane ticket, and this was back in the day. You had paper plane tickets. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Early 90s. And I got this date in my mind. Okay, I'm flying Tuesday. That date is Tuesday, but it was Monday. I missed my flight.
Yeah.
So Phil, my boss, calls me up. Hey, I'm at the airport. Where are you at? I'm in Virginia still. I said, Phil, yeah, looking forward to coming out tomorrow. He goes, dude, your flight was today.
Right.
I'm like, oh no.
You're supposed to be
I'm like,
here right
Phil,
now.
if you don't want to go forward, I mean, I can't even get the right flight. If you don't want to go forward, I completely understand. He goes, nope, we want you to come, call United, see what they can do. So I literally begged this lady on the phone. I'm like, please, this is my first real job. My wife and I just had a baby. I missed a flight. Please, can you figure this out?
Yeah.
Sure enough, she got me on a flight first thing the next morning, like the very first flight. And you know, when you fly east to west, you pick up time, right?
Yeah.
You pick up 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I literally got there in time for the very first meeting. I missed the night before with the president, who was Luis Bush at the time. Luis Bush is a very famous guy in mission circles. He was our president, came up with the concept of the 1040 window. But anyway, I spent 9 years with Partners, and then they moved me back to Southern California.
Gotcha.
And so now I'm working in Southern California, which I knew obviously, and we're starting to have kids, and just had such an amazing time at Partners because I was educating churches about unreached people groups and the 1040 window, where less than 1% of missions resources and missionaries go because it's tough. You know, this is where the major religions in the world are, and less than 1% Christians, and very poor, very poor. So what we would do is we would come alongside and do projects with these organizations. We worked with organizations in country led by local people. They know the language, know the culture. And it was projects like clean water and medical clinics and schools, small business loans, etc. But then we'd also start a leadership center, and we'd have kids in after school, do after school programs, but then they have meetings on Sunday as well. And I raised millions of dollars for that organization and just felt so privileged, the people I met. So I'm impacting the church in the West. I'm helping the church in the developing world. It was extremely rewarding work.
That's awesome. So how do you end up in the mortgage business?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, you know, I was traveling a lot, and we have 5 children, and I just needed to be home more. I was gone probably about half the time, speaking in churches and traveling overseas and whatnot. And one day, we kept getting calls from the school. We have 4 daughters and 1 son. We kept getting calls from the school that our son was acting up in class, or he wasn't turning in his work, or he was disruptive, etc. And I said, you know, I need to be here more because he's really saying I need my dad, right?
Yeah.
So I left that end of 2002, and 12 years in all, because I also worked at a church for a while as a missions pastor, but left that end of 2002. My wife has a real estate background as well, so we started flipping houses 2003, and ultimately in 2004 I got into mortgage. I worked for a company that trained me, provided leads the first year, and then after that I started working by referral, and that's how it's been for 19 years, working by referral.
Wow. Unreal. Okay. So what's your favorite thing about being in the mortgage business?
So I do traditional mortgages. I also do reverse mortgages. So traditional mortgages, just a normal conventional VA, FHA mortgage, whatever, helps somebody build wealth. Do you know, Mike, that a homeowner has a 40x more net worth than a renter?
Oh yeah.
40 times more worth than
we're
renter.
writing a book on home ownership right now. And according to the National Association of Realtors, the average homeowner last year, not California, the average homeowner nationwide has a net worth of over $300,000. The average tenant has a net worth of less than $8,000. So, I mean, it's a huge, huge chasm, right?
Yes, sir.
There are also a ton of statistics on home ownership in terms of growing up in a home that's owned by your parents. The kids do better. They do better in school. They do better later in life. They just have a more solid foundation. So there are all kinds of benefits to owning a home.
I'd love to read it when it comes out.
Yeah. So it's my former pastor who baptized me, who performed our wedding, did our premarital counseling, all that 30 years ago. He's our ghostwriter. He and his wife have written 40 books on marriage and family, and he's my ghostwriter for our book. So I'm super excited about it. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So
well, congratulations.
I started in the mortgage business in 1992. So it's a subject I know well. So yeah, so it's the thing about, so you were saying 40 times, you're absolutely right on. So so what is it that what's your favorite thing about the business?
I really specialize. I do all the mortgages. 2021, 2020, 2021, 50-50. My business was half traditional, half reverse.
Right.
2022 was 2/3, 1/3, 2/3 reverse, 1/3 traditional.
Yeah.
And, I've written 3 books, all about cash flow and retirement on Amazon. And the beautiful thing, the one I'm the most proud of probably is a Swiss Army knife for retirement cash flow. It's 32 stories of how people have used equity in their home to improve their lives in 5 key areas: housing, cash flow, medical, dream, and legacy.
Yeah.
And I'm in the process. I've just got an outline to start another book about a reverse mortgage changed my life. And the impetus of that was I took some of my clients into the radio studio, and I just asked them, hey, tell your story of what a reverse mortgage has done. I left in tears. I mean, I was just so moved, the power of somebody being able to remain in their home and age in place and stay on title as an owner and not have a monthly mortgage payment, and or being able to access their equity tax-free if they need it. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And so those are my favorite, because those people are so grateful. On the traditional side, Mike, it's kind of commoditized now. And I realized that the day somebody called me up and said, what's your rate? And I said, what's your name? I don't know anything about you.
Right.
There's a lot of things we got to figure out before we know what type of loan do you need and what do you qualify for. And, rates are all over the map based on the program and term. And you know how that is.
FICO scores.
But with reverse mortgages,
yeah.
Right. With reverse mortgages, they're just more, I don't know if loyal is the right word, but definitely grateful. They're more grateful. And
so just real quick for people that are listening that don't know what we're talking about. So traditional mortgage is you're looking to buy a house, and you go to a loan officer like you and you get pre-approved, and then you go out and buy a house and you use that pre-approval, that money that's loaned to you, to purchase that house. So that's traditional mortgage, right? Another traditional mortgage product is a refinance, right? Where you have an interest rate that's higher, interest rates drop. It actually makes sense, or it's beneficial for you to pay off that higher interest rate loan with one that's lower, that saves you money, that kind of thing. So that's traditional mortgage, right? Explain what a reverse mortgage is for people that don't know. They may have heard of it, but they don't know exactly what it is, right?
Yeah, great question. So reverse mortgages are used 3 ways. They've been around since 1961. Our government started regulating them in 1989. And over 1.2 million people have 1,200,000 people have taken out a reverse mortgage since that time. They've made improvements over the year where this is literally the safest mortgage somebody can get. AARP did a survey in 2007 of people with a reverse mortgage to see if it was doing what they hoped it would do. 93% were satisfied or very satisfied. So what does it do? 2/3 of the time, people use it to eliminate their monthly principal and interest mortgage payment.
Right.
So think about this. Somebody's on a fixed income in retirement. Their biggest expense is their mortgage payment. We take that off the table. We take that out of their budget, whatever it is, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, whatever it is. And now they can breathe. Now they can have a little breathing room in their budget. So quick story about that one. The very first lady I helped was a referral from a client, and I'd helped her get a mortgage. Now she's referring her mom to me. 84 years old, 5'0", sweet lady. And I said, hey, Carmen, why do you want to do this? She said, well, my budget's tight. I'm like, okay, tell me more about that. She lived in a duplex. The rent paid her mortgage. All she had was Social Security to live on. She said, well, to be honest, I'm using credit cards to buy groceries. 84 years old, using credit cards to buy groceries. So at the closing table, I know the math. I know no more mortgage payment, pay off credit cards. It's about $1,100 a month for freeing up for her. So I know the numbers. So I said, hey, Carm, I know the math, but what is this really going to do for you besides additional $1,100 in your budget each month? She kisses me on the cheek. I had to go home and tell my wife I was kissed by an 84-year-old lady at closing. She kisses me on the cheek and she says, well, to be honest, don't have to worry about money anymore. And I'm like, man, I'm in. This is beautiful. We're changing people's lives. The second way people use it is to access equity. So this is the person who owns their house outright or has a lot of equity, and they want to tap into it for whatever reason. Renovate their home, buy a car, take a trip, help the kids or the grandkids, buy a second home, buy a business, start a business, whatever, all kinds of things. I write about it in my book. Mm-hmm. But now somebody has a way to, because the only way to get your equity out, Mike, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, the only way to get the money out is sell, pay the realtor 6%, mm-hmm. cash out refi or a HELOC, home equity line of credit, have a monthly mandatory payment, mm-hmm. or do a reverse mortgage where there's no payment.
Right.
So that's the second way people use it. And the way they can get their money is three ways: lump sum, line of credit, or monthly payments, mm-hmm. or a combination of all of that.
Now, monthly payments, so you're saying are coming to them, not them making them.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure we're clear, because I don't want anybody to misunderstand. So lump sum, line of credit. Now, line of credit would be something where they give you a line of credit and they give you basically some checks, right? And you can write checks on whatever that number is. So let's say it's $100,000. Okay. So now they have no payments on their house, and they have a checkbook that they can write if something comes up and they need it. Right.
Yeah.
Like
with
almost
direct
like an
deposit now,
kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. With direct deposit now, we don't actually do the checks. If somebody needs money, they can just request it within a couple of days. It just drops right into their account.
Yeah.
But I got a story about a guy that closed last month, and he was very specific. He said, I want $1,600 a month for 23 years. Like, okay. And if his property appraised, we could do it. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, it came in higher. Mm-hmm. So I said, hey, Brian, I hope it's okay. You know, you're actually going to get $1,708 a month for 23 years tax-free. Yeah. And he's like, that's the shortfall I have in my retirement. I'm good. Another lady, actually, she was a realtor in Escondido, mm-hmm. and she moved to Colorado Springs, met her at church, and she actually purchased a house with, that's the third way somebody can use it, is to finance a home. Mm-hmm. So she purchased a house with a reverse mortgage. Why would somebody do that? Well, you can get 35 to 40% more buying power. Mm-hmm. You can buy a home that better suits the family in that stage of life, i.e. no stairs, less maintenance, no deferred maintenance, maybe closer to family, and no monthly mortgage payment. So you make mm-hmm. one down payment and then there's no mortgage payment. But what she did is she decided to pay down her reverse mortgage to like $100 because she wanted the line of credit. She understood mm-hmm. how the line of credit worked. So here's the line of credit. The most amazing part of the reverse mortgage and the most misunderstood or confusing thing. It's kind of like a big credit card. So, mm-hmm. you know, let's say you have a credit card that has a $10,000 limit, but you're only using $1,000. You're only paying interest on the $1,000, but you've got $9 available to you.
Right.
Same thing with a line of credit. In her case, she had $335,000 available in a line of credit. She had a $100 balance. And that's growing by, at that time, about 6.5% a year. It's gone up now. It's like 8%. But 6.5% a year, guaranteed compound interest, insured, not tied to the market. So now she came to me one morning at church and she said, do you know I'm getting $16,000 a year tax-free growth on my line of credit? I'm like, yeah, mm-hmm. I bet you are. And she goes, I can do anything I want with that, right? I'm like, yeah, except buy an annuity. That's the only restriction because you've already annuitized your equity.
Right.
The government doesn't want you to take that money and go put it in an annuity where it's tied up for so many years before you can get it, or right. there's a penalty, right, or fees. Right. So it's just an amazing thing. Eliminate payment, access equity, or finance a home. 4% of people use it to finance a home, and that's why I say when you're a senior and you're looking at this. Has a bad reputation because of 1961 and 1988, where it was unregulated. Mm-hmm. Lots of companies offered it. There was abuse. There was misuse. people did lose their homes, but it hasn't been that way since 1989 when the very first FHA version of a reverse mortgage came out. And over the years, they've made it safer and so many safeguards in there that really protect the senior.
Yeah. So one just real quick thing, and we've got to wrap up, unfortunately, because of time. But and I've thoroughly enjoyed every second of this. Just one real quick thing. If somebody has been in their home for a long time and they have a significant amount of equity, and it's a husband and wife, and that equity or that gain is more than $500,000, they're going to pay capital gains on that equity if they sell it. So something to think about in terms of a reverse mortgage is a way to avoid that capital gains tax, right? So it's another way for people, it's another option for them or solution if they have more than a $500,000 gain, because that's what's allowed in the federal tax code for a husband and wife. It's $250,000 each. So, reverse mortgage is definitely a way to go. Kevin, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been a really fast hour, and I've loved every second of it. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you.
Take care. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out Calendly.com/Rio760.